Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Cattlemen's Congress. We are excited to get started at this time. If you could please all rise for our national anthem. Well, once again, good morning and welcome to the Cattlemen's Congress here in the Jim Norick Arena. We are excited to get started over here in Ring 2 with your junior Red Brahman Bull Show. We are going to get started with your first class, which will be Junior Brahman Bulls born July 1st to August 31st of 2021. We are excited to welcome your judge today, Mr. Ryan Rash of Crockett, Texas.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And as we start out the Brahman show today, I want to thank Dr. Joe and Miss Morgan and the Cattlemen's Congress for offering me this awesome responsibility and opportunity today to work through the Brahman cattle and sort through the youth of this great breed. As we start out, they're taking it easy on me. Only one in it, so nobody can argue with me, not even my mother up there. And so I like that because that's going to improve my batting average. This is a really good bull in terms of the fact that he's stout. He's really muscular. He's deep in his side. He's good in terms of his body depth. He's got extra bone and circumference there. One that's still attractive enough in terms of his look. He gets a little lower in terms of his shoulder placement. He's one that we could strengthen right there behind his hump. And when we put him in motion, he wants to get a shade soft in terms of his pasterns. But that's a nice one to start out the day. Young man's doing an excellent job sticking him. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in your first class here in our Red Brahman Bull Show. Your calf champion will go to Christopher Carrier with CCC Mr. Bow 155-1. Next class in will be Junior Brahman Bulls born October 1st to October 31st. Well, it looks like we're about ready to get started over here in your Brangus ring. We're going to look to start with Class 1 Black Late Spring Heifer calves born April 1st of 2021.
Another single entry in this division here, and the young man's bull is one that you really appreciate in terms of his silhouette, so long in terms of his side, and yet he's one that neck shoots high off at the top side of his shoulder, blends well in terms of his transitions, just really a proportionally correct bull in terms of his muscle and his volume, and has a really good look. I'll be the first to tell you, I'd like to change him in terms of the way that he articulates out of his rear hock, make him a little more flexible and mobile there, but it's still a high quality entry that'll look nice in the champion drive. Give him a round of applause.
Well, congratulations, your champion fall bull calf, exhibited by Tyler Lindsay with 6W Mr. Stokes. We'll now bring in the next class, Junior Brahman bulls born April 1st to April 30th of 2020.
Get out here in the senior bull division. The young man that won the first class in the first division brings us another one in here. And again, in terms of his proportions, I really like his body build, his roundness of rib. He's extremely heavy muscled and square in terms of his make. He's one in terms of his side view look, a nice necked, long-sided bull. Gets a little deeper in terms of his chest and brisket when we put him in motion. He wants to be a shade hesitant or resistant in terms of his rear postern, but still a very good one. Give him a round of applause.
Congratulations, your intermediate champion bull, exhibited by Christopher Carrier with CCC Mr. Cletus 149.0. We'll now bring in our champion reserve divisions and select a grand reserve grand champion, Red Bull.
As we move in here to pick the Grand and Reserve Red Brahman Bull, only 3 entries, but 3 high-quality ones, and very different and contrasting in terms of their type and kind. To be honest with you, I need to fix them all just a little bit in terms of their structural integrity, tweak them in terms of their feet and legs. So in that case, we call that a wash and study them from there. And depending on where you put your priorities and what you admire the most in terms of show cattle, you can justify almost any 3 of them. The one that I'm going to elect to use is the one that's really got a nice look in terms of his balance and his symmetry. I think he's one of the two that's super stout in terms of his muscularity and his build. And again, one that just has that added advantage in terms of his side view profile and his sleekness. Young man in the middle with the intermediate will be the grand champion. Young man with the senior will be the reserve. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations over here in your red Brahman ring. Your champion Red Bull goes to Tyler Lindsay with 6W Mr. Stokes, and reserve champion exhibited by Christopher Carrier with CCC Mr. Cletus 149 over 0. Now bringing your junior Brahman Gray Bull show. We're going to get started in your calf division with junior Brahman bulls born March 1st to April 30th of 2021. And for those of you just joining us in Jim Norick over here in Ring 1, we have gotten started with your Brangus show. Your judge this morning, Christy Collins of Frederick, Oklahoma. Christy grew up and still resides on her family's ranch. She owns CCI.live, a cattle marketing firm in Las Rojas. She started the successful Embryo on Snow that'll be in its 16th year here in 2022. She has judged several majors in the U.S., Mexico, Canada, and Argentina. She has served on the beef committees for senior college contests, the American Royal, Nail, and National Western. For those of you sitting ringside, please join me in putting your hands together for our judge, Miss Christy Collins. And back over in the Brahman ring, your judge this morning, as we introduced earlier, Mr. Ryan Rash of Crockett, Texas. He is the executive director of Beyond the Ring Junior Livestock Association and owner of SB Cattle Company. He was on the national champion collegiate livestock judging team and has judged all species of livestock in 43 states, Canada, and Mexico. Please put your hands together for our judge this morning, Mr. Ryan Rash.
Start out here in the Grays show, and if we leave this young lady's bull in park, you've really got to appreciate a lot of things about this calf. One, that is so good looking through the front 1/3 of his body, smooth and flat in terms of his shoulder, and yet he opens up and he's wide and dimensional in terms of his rib cage. One that still has plenty of muscle for me. When we get him in motion, I'd like to change him. He wants to get a little cumbersome and awkward, especially out of the way that he goes out of his hop to the ground. Maybe stouten him in terms of his bone and foot just a shade, but a really good looking one to start off this show. She does an excellent job. Give them a nice round of applause.
And congratulations over here in your gray Brahman ring. Your calf champion exhibited by Addison Wright with DC's Super Duty Manso. We'll now bring in your next class, Junior Brahman Bulls born August 1st to August 31st of 2020.
move out here, and the sharp-dressed cowboy has got a good bull, and I'm not real keen on the fact he's trying to outdo me in the wardrobe department, but I tell you what, he is really good at sticking this calf here. And I think the best attribute of this young man's bull is he's so flexible and agile in terms of the way that he moves around the ring, those feet set properly and square on the outside of the corners. He's one that's still got some depth of side and some look to him. I could change him up in terms of his balance. He gets a little lower in terms of his chest, higher in terms of his flank, and he's one that's got enough muscularity we could see him stouter and more powerful when you get him from behind. I think that boy's a really, really good hand, though. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations. In that last class over here in our Gray Brahman Bull Show, first place exhibited by Carson Rabb with Mr. Gary Stewart. Next in will be Gray Brahman Bulls born May 1st to May 31st. In the Brangus ring, we have the results of your first class. First place exhibited by Emma Teeter with PP Miss Mia Moore 1915J9. Second place in that class was exhibited by Olivia Rexroth. Third place was exhibited by Eris Basie. Fourth place exhibited by Roxton Stone. Fifth place exhibited by Clavy Allen. Sixth place, back number 2271. Seventh place was exhibited by Truett Marks. And eighth place, Nash Smith. We'll now bring in Class 2 Black Early Spring Heifer calves born March 1st to March 31st.
These two gentlemen bring us a pair of bulls in this class that are pretty contrasting in terms of their type and kind. And again, depending on what your preferences is, there's a lot of give and take in the two. The lighter pigmented bull at the lead is the one that I'm going to initiate with. That's the one that I prefer in terms of his depth of side. He's one that's just a little stouter in terms of his overall muscularity and body build. He's definitely the one that has the advantage in terms of the fact that he's more aggressive in terms of his bone and foot. Those are the reasons that he wins. He's one that I'd like to change in terms of his hip. You see that. We'd like to make it more fashionable and level. If we did that, then he would be able to get out and go with more authority and correctness off of his hind two. The dark pigmented bull from behind is the one that's cooler in terms of his neck set. He's longer in terms of his side. He's better in terms of his hip. He's awfully tight in terms of his body build. He's just a little more tubular in terms of his design. He gets awfully straight through his shoulder and knee, but they both do a good job. Nice pair. Give them a good round of applause.
Bouillon. First place goes to Hagen Bouillon with Mr. SNS Cash 432 over 0. And second place in that class exhibited by Bradley Morris with Mr. Black Gold Boomer. We'll now bring in your first and seconds, and our judge will be selecting his champion, Yearling Bull.
Well, finally, we've got a division where we have to make a decision out here. Give these three young kids a nice round of applause. They all do an excellent job in terms of getting these bulls presented. And as you study the two class winners, again, very different in terms of their type and kind. And as I've said before, and you'll probably hear me say again, depending on what you put your emphasis and your preferences on, this could probably go one of two ways. Young man at the front's got the one that's really good in terms of his body proportions and symmetry. He's one that's long in terms of his side, level in terms of his hip, and as we talked in that particular class, he's really good on the move. I like his structural integrity. I think he's one of the sounder, sure-footed ones that we see, and that's his main advantage in the lineup. I'd like to change him in terms of the floor of his chest, pick him up, and elevate him through his front end. The bull that comes out of the second class, definitely the one that's a little stouter in terms of his bone and foot. He's got more topside power and mass. I realize that. He's one that's two is good enough in terms of his body depth. As we said, he wants to get a little rounder out of his hip. That makes him get underneath himself in terms of the way that he travels off of his rear two. The black bull that was second to that one, again, one that's cool looking and long side. He's actually got the advantage in terms of testicular development of all three of them. Needs some more body and stoutness. Needs to move better up front. So soundness is very, very important to me. Structural integrity is a big deal. For that reason, Cowboy in the lead. The single entry, you're the division champion. Follow up with this young man to be reserved. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in your yearling division. Your champion exhibited by Carson Rabb and reserve exhibited by Hagen Bouillon. We'll now bring in your next class. These will be gray Brahman bulls born January 1st to January 31st.
This young lady brings us a single entry in the intermediate division, therefore going to be the champion, but one that definitely could stand some competition. If we just leave this one standing still, that's the kind that you want to take to the backdrop and get your picture with, because he is a cool-fronted, good-looking one that is so strong and stable right there behind his hump, and he's just so level and correct in terms of his lines, balance, and symmetry. There's plenty of body, plenty of rib. There's enough muscle for me, and I think he just proportions so well in terms of his dimensions and his bone and foot. We get him in motion. I'd like to change him just a little bit. He wants to get outside of himself up front. He's not quite as secure in terms of his rear two as I'd like to see him. But I'm telling you, standing still, that is a good looking one. She does a nice job. Give him a round of applause.
Well, congratulations in your intermediate division. Your champion exhibited by Grace McCall with Mr. V8 875/8. We'll now bring in your junior bull. Back over in the Brangus ring, we have the results of Class 2. First place was exhibited by Catherine Allen with ACC Justice 674J3. Second place exhibited by Kara McKee. Third place was exhibited by Megan Perry. And fourth place exhibited by Jenna Minyard. Now, currently over here in the Brangus ring, we have Class 4 Black Early Winter Heifer calves born January 1st to January 31st.
Again, we've just got one in this division, and I'm like I said, I'm okay with that because you can't argue with me. But I think you would find it difficult to find anybody in this arena that could not tell that this is one stout hombre in terms of his muscularity, his power, his squareness, and yet with that added dimension, he's still one that blends a masculine but regal and sleek look from the side view profile. For his maturity, he's in great shape in terms of his show ring setting. I think even with all that power and stoutness, he handles his rear hawk very well. I'll be the first to tell you, he gets a little more upright through his shoulder and knee than what I prefer, but he moves good, and that is one that's got so many unique and powerful things about him. Congratulations, young man. Give him a round of applause.
Well, congratulations, your champion junior bull exhibited by Tyler Lindsay with 6W Mr. Pablo. We'll now bring in all of your division champion and reserves, and our judge will select his champion junior Brahman Gray Bull.
We get out here to select the Grand and Reserve Gray Bull. Again, obviously the competition's got a little tougher, tides got a little higher, and the waters got deeper. Give these kids a nice round of applause. This is a good set out here. And I'm not going to tell you they're all cookie cutter images of each other, but they all put a lot of good in terms of the things that I admire and look for. And, judging is just an opinion, and everyone in here's got one. And if we all had the same opinion, there'd be one show a year, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of fun in that. I'm not here to tell you my opinion's correct, right or wrong. Not going to try to convince you of that. Today, on this side of the ring, it's official. And that's the only difference between mine and all of yours. And so as we get out here, I think it's a close decision. I think they're all four good. There's two that set the bar just a little higher for me. The differences that I see, one's a little cooler in terms of look, cleaner in terms of sheath. He's not quite as mobile off either end. He's not quite as opened up and powerful. We've got one that's just massive and still really good looking and in good shape. And as we said, that one could go just a little different out of that shoulder, but both very, very good ones here. I think it's been an excellent drive. Give them a nice round of applause. We'll show you the Grand and Reserve.
Well, congratulations. Back over here in the Brahman ring, your grand champion Gray Bull exhibited by Tyler Lindsay with 6W Mr. Pablo, and reserve champion Gray Bull exhibited by Grace McCall. Congratulations to those exhibitors. We'll now get started with your junior Red Brahman female show. Be starting with females born May 1st to June 30th of 2021. Back over in the Brangus ring, we have the results of Class 4. First place went to GKB Miss Tank 38J2, exhibited by Madeline Eskew. Second place was exhibited by Lana Teeter. Third place, Eris Basie. And fourth place, Monty Eskew. We're now going to bring in your first and seconds, and our judge will select her champion reserve heifer calves.
Start out the red female show, and young lady's got a single entry here, but I would defy you to tell me that we've seen one on this side of the ring that is any sexier or better looking than what this heifer is. She has got that come hither look and presence to the front 1/3 of her body. She's dead level and gorgeous in terms of her lines, balance, and symmetry, still ample in terms of her body depth and her muscle. I think she moves good off either end of her skeleton. As she goes and matures and has added weight, we're going to have to watch those rear pasterns. She gets a shade soft there. Other than that, that is a really, really impressive female. Give her a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations. And your first class over here in our Red Brahman female show. First place exhibited by Aubrey Ellis with Triple E Miss Mia 114. We'll now bring in your next class, females born January 1st to February 28th of 2021. Well, congratulations over here in your Brangus ring. Your champion heifer calf goes to back number 2284, ACC Justice 674J3, exhibited by Catherine Allen. And reserve champion goes to back number 2270, PP Miss Amore 9:15 J9 exhibited by Emma Teeter. We're now going to bring in Class 1 red late spring heifer calves born April 1st of 2021.
Finally got to a class that y'all are going to make me think about things. That's not very nice. We were just rolling on along here pretty easy. And these are three good cattle that there's a lot of differences in between them. And to be honest with you, I think if we could meld all the parts and pieces together, then we'd have that one like we had in the last class. And that's not the case, but still some very, very good cattle out here. Young lady in the lead is the one that I initiate with. I think she takes some of the parts of the next two and puts them in one package. She's attractive in terms of her balance and lines, like the heifer in third, and she's got enough muscle and enough volume to her, like the one that comes in second. She's not perfect out of her rear hock. She's too rigid there, and she's the flattest rib female of the trio, and I realize that she's still the one that I prefer in this alignment. Heifer in second's the stoutest. She's really good in terms of her body. She's excellent in terms of her top side power. She's the squarest from behind, and she's the thickest. She's one that I'd like to change her in terms of her shoulder, change her in terms of her underline, and then when we get her in motion again, in terms of her rear wheels, she wants to get underneath herself and too soft in terms of her pasture. The best looking heifer's in third, and I never like to put the best looking one there because she is so cool looking and attractive in terms of her balance. She's the lightest muscle. She's the tightest in terms of her rib, and one that when we put her in motion, she's just the most awkward in the way that she goes off either end. I like all three of those, and they can go different ways depending on who has the mic. The kids all did a nice job. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in that last class over here in your Brahman ring. First place exhibited by Aubrey Ellis with Miss C.A. Maple. And second place exhibited by Christopher Carrier. And third place exhibited by Aubrey Ellis. We'll now bring in those first and seconds, and our judge will select his calf champions.
Get out here to pick the first division champion in the red show, and I told y'all earlier my mom's sitting up there, and if she's told me once this week, she's told me 20 times, don't go fast, don't go fast, don't go fast. And I tell her when it's easy, there's no reason in taking your time, and this is really, really easy, ladies and gentlemen. There's one that I'm just a big, big fan of. Young lady in the lead, I dig that creature right there. That one's the champion. She's a single entry. This one here will be reserved. Give them a nice round of applause.
Congratulations, your calf champion over here in the red Brahman show goes to Aubrey Ellis with Triple E Miss Mia 114, and reserve champion also goes to Aubrey Ellis. We will now bring in your next class of red Brahman females. These females were born October 1st to October 31st.
got a really good pair of red cattle out here, and the power couple up here in the lead's going to initiate off. And again, if you study this female, I think she's one that just balances so nicely. She's really long and good in terms of her silhouette. She's got a sleek, show ring oriented look about her. I think there's plenty of mass and volume in her. And of the pair, she's the female that is more correct in terms of the way that she goes. She's smoother and more correct in terms of her joints. I'm not going to lie to you. She wants to short stride just a shade off of her rear too, and I'd like to tweak her in terms of her head and neck set, make it just a shade higher on the top side of that shoulder, but that's getting awfully critical on one that's really, really good and got a great deal of quality. Young man's darker red heifer at the back. I asked him if he had brushed that glitter off his bull yet. He assured me he hadn't. This heifer's good in terms of power. She's deep-sided. She's rugged. In terms of her bone and foot, she's a little shorter in terms of her side and makeup, not as elegant in terms of her look, but one that offers a lot of breeding value and some intriguing pieces. Give them both a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations over here in your red Brahman ring. First place exhibited by Tyler Lindsay with six. Correction on that. First place was exhibited by Macy Dickerson with HC6W Miss Cooper Ann 177. And second place was exhibited by Tyler Lindsay with 6W Miss Tricia 190. We're now going to bring in your next class of females born September 1st to September 30th.
Move out here, we have another single entry, and the young lady has one very similar to the one that won the last class in terms of the fact that she really presents a look of quality. She's so strong and stable in terms of her lines. She's jet-necked and good-looking. She's a female that I think is ample in terms of her roundness of rib and her body. She's not overpowering there. I'd like to tweak her in terms of her range of motion. She gets a little close at her knee and a little tight and close in terms of her rear hock. But again, we're getting critical on a very good female that's excellently shown by this young lady. Give her a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations back over in the red Brahman ring. First place exhibited by Claire Fontenot with D. Charlotte Smoking Gun 455 over 0. We're now going to bring in your first and seconds, and we'll select a champion reserve fall heifer calf. Back over in the Brangus ring, we have the results of Class 2. First place exhibited by Savannah Hansen. Second place exhibited by Trua James Marks. Third place was exhibited by Tyos Durham. And fourth place was exhibited by Talon Wayne Dean. We'll now bring in Class 3 red late winter heifer calves born February of 2021.
Well, as we get out here to select this division in reserve, only 3 in this group. But to tell you what, in terms of quality, I think this has been the best group and the best division that we've seen so far today. Y'all have been awfully quiet and pretty timid. Maybe you're not awake yet. Give these kids a really big round of applause. They deserve it. This is a good group out here. And as you study them, the one out of the first class, we talked about her. I just love her body build, her shape, her rib, the broodiness that she displays. She's got a ton of power and muscularity. I think comparing her to the one right behind her, she's a little more fashionable and level in terms of her hip. As we talked about her in that class, I think she goes good off the front side of her skeleton. She does want a short stride and get a little restricted off of her hind two. And in a perfect world, we just change her head and neck set and her hump placement ever so slightly. But she is one that's just beautiful in terms of balance, got a lot of power and quality. The young lady's Heifer out of 2, that's the really cool necked one that's very long in terms of her side. She's not quite as level out of her hip as the Heifer in front of her. She's one that's a little more rugged in terms of her bone. She doesn't have the body shape or density of the Heifer right in front of her. And when we put her in motion, as we said, we need to change her because she gets a little close at her knee and her hock. Young man's Heifer that was second to the one in the first class. I love her stoutness and broodiness and power. Little short on her side, little restricted to me. That's how I see them. My champion is this young lady right here. This one will be reserved. Give them a nice round of applause.
Congratulations in our fall heifer calf division. Your champion exhibited by Macy Dickerson, and reserve is Claire Fontenot. Next class in
As we get out here, if Miss Morgan told me correctly, young man's got the only one in this division, and one is just long as a well rope in terms of the extension that she displays. She's very elegant and refined up front, flat and smooth at the point of her shoulder. The things that we could make better about this female, expand her in terms of her rib, give her more depth and broodiness, make her go just a little different out of her hog. But he does a heck of a good job. He assured me he's still having fun out here. Give him a nice round of applause.
Bouillon. Congratulations over here in the Brahman ring. We have the results of your yearling heifer division. Your champion went to Hagen Bouillon with Miss H.C. Aubrey 129 over 0. And now bring in your junior heifer division. Back over in the Brangus ring, your champion red heifer calf was exhibited by Savannah Hansen, and reserve champion exhibited by Cheyenne Durham.
Young lady's got another single entry division champion out here, and she brought this heifer in and brings her and sets her up. And I assured her that heifer doesn't need to be any stouter because she's built like a Kardashian from behind. She is just world of power and mass in her. I love the added body depth and roundness of rib. She's very long and level in terms of her top line. With that added stoutness, she gets a little bolder and more open in terms of her shoulder. I'd like to strengthen her in terms of her rear posture and freshen her up in terms of her condition, but she's got a lot of powerful pieces about her. Very intriguing creature, and this young lady, once again, doing an excellent job on the stick. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations back over here in the red Brangus ring. In Class 5 Black Brangus, first place was exhibited by Nash Smith with MP Miss Clutch 1019H, and second place exhibited by April Villarreal with LR Hot Stuff 38H27. Over here in your red Brahman ring, we are doing your grand drive for your females over here in ring 2.
Well, as we get out here to select the champion and reserve red female again, put your hands together, show these kids some love. Just a tremendous set of cattle all the way through, and you expect the female side to get tougher and higher and deeper in terms of quality, and it certainly didn't disappoint. And again, I'm a big fan of the Brahman breed. Been involved in it my whole life. Not a breeder like you people around here, but known lots of great families that exhibited them. And my first steer was a Brahman crossbred steer. Mr. Jim's bull, Red Mayrow, raised him. And I don't know if that steer showed me or taught me how to show, but because of that calf, I got to be the showman that I was. And I love this breed of cattle. I love the people that make up it. And I mean this sincerely. I really, really appreciate this opportunity to judge these. And again, it's tough. And to be honest with you, I think that it's a good group, a stout group. I think one wins, and then I think one gets to be reserved. But they're both very, very good. Show these kids a big round of applause. We'll get you the Grand and Reserve Red Heifer.
Congratulations back over here in the Brangus ring. Results of Class 6, first place exhibited by Maddox Hartman. And over in the Brahman ring, your grand champion red female exhibited by Aubrey Ellis with Triple E Miss Mia 114. And your reserve champion red Brahman female exhibited by Macy Dickerson with HC6W Miss Cooper Ann 177. Congratulations to our red Brahman female exhibitors. We are now going to get started with your junior gray Brahman female show.
Start off the gray show, and the young ladies got one that's green as a gourd in here this first class, but I think got a lot of future and potential in her. She's one that's elegant in terms of her lines, balance, and symmetry for her age and maturity. I think there's enough power and enough substance in her. She's fighting the halter just a little bit when she's asking her to lead, so she's not going quite as effortlessly as what we'd like, but she's probably the first time to town. They do a good job, and that's a nice female. Give them a good round of applause. Nice trio of cattle out here and the couple in the lead. When you've got the best looking, the soundest, and the stoutest one, you need to get to the front of the class. And so that's why that one does. Just a very handily class winner here. I like a lot of things about her. I'm not going to tell you that she overpowers you or blows you away in any one feature or aspect, but she's good and solid in the ones that matter. Nice heifer. I think the decision between 2 and 3, very close, and they're different. The really white female and that comes in second, she's so long and level in terms of her top line, fashionable out of her hip. There's more bone and foot in that female. She's a little flat in terms of her rib shape. I'd like to make her heavier muscled. She wants to get a little soft in terms of her pastern. Actually, that pair right there is swapped. This young lady's second, that one's third. That heifer there that's going out, one that's really good looking from the side view profile. She's too tight in terms of her rib. She gets up in terms of her top, too restricted in motion. Good group. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations. Your champion junior heifer over here in your Brangus ring goes to back number 2324, SJCC Hennessy 804H8, exhibited by Roxton Stone.
Wouldn't be a true Brahman show without a little excitement. I mean, that's just how it is. But they did a good job out here. I think that heifer that wins just handles this class with a great deal of ease. One, that's as you study her from every angle, I love her head and her breed character. She's got power and muscle. She's one that's extra good and sound and mobile on her feet and legs, and she puts together a very intriguing look from the side view profile. I'm being big on that one there. Young man in second's got one that stopped. You love how good looking that one is. Cool necked and long bodied, stout and powerful. And that is the heaviest muscled one of the group. She's mad she got bait. I don't blame her. But as you study her through her shoulder and knee and out of her rear hock, she just gets a little too rigid. She's not quite as good in terms of her body. This young lady here in third, she's making a hand of herself. That heifer wants to be anything but a show heifer out here today, and she never let go and she never quit. She told me that's that heifer's first time to town. They'll go on and do better things, more days on feed, more competition, one that you like her in terms of her body depth and her bone, just one that's not presenting quite as well, can't get quite as nice a look at her. Really good trio. Give them a good round of applause.
Well, currently in the gray Brahman ring, your judge is going to select his calf champions.
As we get out here, just like the gray Grand Reserve KF again, give these exhibitors a nice round of applause. An excellent lineup from start to finish, lots of quality. One of the bigger divisions in terms of numbers, and you expect that as we start the gray female show. Probably taking some of the dramatics and romance out of this decision. When I like one, I'm not afraid to tell you, I dig this one at the back. I think she's exceptionally solid in all the areas that matter. That one's the champion right there. Our sharp-dressed Cowboys coming in with that heifer that was second, and we talked about her, liked some things about her. I think the heifer that comes the closest to the champion comes out of Class 2, and they'll be reserved. Congratulations to them.
Well, over in the gray Brahman ring, your calf champion was exhibited by Macy Dickerson and reserved to Fallon Rabb. We'll now go into your fall heifer calf division. Back over in the Brangus ring, we have the results of Class 6 in your red Brangus show. First place was exhibited by Ethan Rexroth, and second place exhibited by Peyton Hansen.
This young lady's great, single entry female here. Again, if we just leave her in the setup and park position, one that's exceptionally powerful in terms of her mass and her squareness, her body density, one that's really attractive in terms of her lines and balance, got that extra good look through the front 1/3 of her body. If you study her in terms of her knee and joints up front, she wants to bow out and she gets a little restricted and awkward off of her rear too. Just change her in terms of her tires to make her more competitive. They do a good job, and the Heifer's got a lot of good in her. Give them a nice round of applause. Get out here in this trio of gray heifers, and these young ladies came in. I said, y'all aren't going to take it easy on me this class, because this is kind of a complicated order, to be real honest, and they're all good. There's just so many differences between them. The heifer that I'm the most comfortable with in the lead, we're going to leave them just as they are. The young lady in the gray sweater, I think she's the one that's the most mobile and agile off either end of her skeleton. She's definitely the one that I prefer in terms of her depth of side and her broodiness. I think there's enough muscle there. She's not going to be called the best looking one in the world because she's a little shorter about the front 1/3 of her body. I'd like to freshen her up in terms of her condition. I still think she's the most solid. Leave them stop, the heifer in 2. She's the stout, rugged one that's got a big hip and a lot of power. She's cool fronted. She's too tight and cylindrical in terms of her body. She's got to be rounder in terms of her rib and softer and deeper in terms of her broodiness of appearance, and one that when we put her in motion, just a little tighter off either end. Young ladies, that's in 3rd with the pink tinge female. That is the deeper sided one of the pair of 2 and 3. She's also the lightest muscle, flattest rib. She's got to be better looking in terms of a show ring aesthetic. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations back over here in the red Brangus ring. Your champion in that last division went back number 2316 and reserve to 2312.
Well, once again, let's give these young ladies a nice round of applause as we get out here to select another Grade Division champion. This has been an interesting group, and to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know if there's been one female amongst them that puts every single piece of the puzzle together, but there's a lot of quality and a lot of good parts and pieces about them. Just something I want to tweak about every single one of them. And to be honest with you, if you leave them stopped, they sort out one way. If you put them in motion, they go a different way. And so it's just what you prefer. Structural integrity and soundness is always going to be first and foremost my priority. For that reason, young lady at the back's got the better structured one. She'll be the champion. Congratulations to her. We got to get reserve. That's all. We've got to bring the second in from this class for reserve. Gentleman brings this heifer in to vie for reserve here, and I think these heifers have the same problem. If you'll study them up front, they want to get a little round from their knee to the ground. They're not quite as agile in terms of their rear movement. That's why that heifer won this division. So these have the same problem you call structural wash. Judge them from there. I think there is one that is stouter, more powerful. She's got more extras in terms of body, mass, and muscle, and she's just a little cooler in terms of her head and neck set. We'll use the young lady out of Class 1 to be reserved. Congratulations to her.
Well, congratulations in our fall heifer calf division. Your champion was exhibited by Laura Cooper and reserved to Addison Wright. We will now bring in your next division. First class will be females born July 1st to July 31st of 2020. Your champion senior heifer calf. Your champion senior heifer over here in your black Brangus ring was back number 2334. And reserve champion went to back number 2341.
This duo's been in here before, and I asked that young lady, does she like that gentleman there? She said she did. I said, I think he's pretty all right, too. The Heifer is one that you like her in terms of her body mass and density. I think she's fairly sound in terms of her range of motion. She's one for me that's just a little shorter and more conventional in terms of her type and kind. Like to extend her out through her front end, make her sleeker in terms of her look. They do a good job. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations over here in your gray Brahman ring. First place in that last class was exhibited by Fallon Rabb with Miss W.L. Hope.
Got a very interesting trio of gray Brahman cattle over here, and lots of differences in terms of their type and kind. The young man that's going to win, I'll be the first to tell you that one's got to be bolder in terms of her body. She's got to be deeper in terms of her side and have just more broodiness to her. Of the trio that's out here, she's the attractive one in terms of her look and levelness, and she has more muscle in terms of she's bigger and bolder out of her hip, and she's got more power in from behind than the Heifer in second. I'd like to change her body type. I'd like to stouten her in terms of her bone, foot, and feature. And that Heifer in second has that advantage. She is more rugged. She has more circumference. She's very long. She's one, though, that when you get her on the side view profile, again, her show ring aesthetic doesn't proportion as nicely. She's deeper in her chest, higher in terms of her flanks. She breaks and separates right there behind her hump. And she's just one that's flatter in terms of her muscle when you get in behind her. And the young lady that comes in three, I think that Heifer has a little more shape, a little more spring of rib than the one right in front of her. She's awfully frail in terms of her bone and foot, and one that just doesn't have the power and substance of the two above. Give them a nice round of applause. They all did a good job.
Well, at this time over in Ring 1, we are going to do your grand drive for your heifer show in our Black Brangus show. Followed by that, we will show the Red Brangus.
get out here in this trio, and that heifer in first has got a lot of things extra and exaggerated about her. If y'all haven't noticed, I'm kind of that way myself. So it tends that I gravitate to those kind. She's got a flamingo front, and she is stout. She's powerful. She's muscular. She's really opened up in terms of her body and rib. She's good in terms of her bone and foot. All those things are really, really good. I'm going to be the first to tell you she doesn't move quite sound enough for me off either end of her skeleton. I want to make her better there. But in this particular class, she has so many intriguing pieces. She wins quite well. Cowgirl here in second, I told her she looks way better in a cowboy hat than I do. That's why I got to spend so much time on my hair. But she does a nice job. And this heifer's good in terms of her broodiness. She's one that you like in terms of her depth of side. She doesn't have the muscle. She doesn't have the added look. But I think one that's fairly solid in terms of her feet and legs. This young lady's doing a good job and hanging in here with one, wanting to be a little ornery, and she is longer and more extended than the one in front of her. She's also a little frail in terms of her bone, tight in terms of the way that she moves. Really nice set of girls out there that did a good job. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in your last class here in your Gray Brahman show in this division. First place goes to Camp McCall. Second place exhibited by Molly Kreutzer, and third place exhibited by Macy Humphrey. We'll now bring in all your firsts and seconds, and our judge will select his champion reserve yearling heifers.
Well, as we get out here to select another one of these gray female divisions and reserves, again, a lot of quality. Kids are doing a good job. Reward them with a round of applause. And to be honest with you, this division has given me some more troubles and struggles than the other ones. That we had them walk around here one more time. And again, these cattle are good, and I think they've got quality. There's something about every single one of them that I need to change to make them more desirable in terms of what I look for in show cattle. And so the best thing to do is I do this a lot, and you're not going to find that one in every class or every division, but you've got to find the good in all of them, call that out, and tell the people what you change about them, and then just simply pick the one that you like the best. That heifer in the lead, I know she's the soundest footed, and I like that about her quite well. She's very good at the ground. One that I think is good in terms of her broodiness. I need to change her in terms of her freshness. She's just a little over conditioned. And in terms of type and kind, she's not exactly my style because she's a little more conventional and jammed together. She's not as sleek through her front end, but I do like her soundness of structure very, very well. That young man in the middle has got one that's long and extended and attractive. Again, we've got to change that one in terms of a structural perspective, and one that's got to have more depth to side, more power and broodiness. We might want to moderate her just a shade in terms of her mature cow size. Then we've got the one that won the last class at the back, and again, keep that one parked and stopped, and she does such a good job with her. There's a lot of cool things about her. She's good neck, she's heavy muscled, she's stout, she's broody. You know, as I said, she does an excellent job exhibiting her. She's not perfect in terms of her transition out of her hump and into her spine, and when we get her in motion, she's a little troublesome for me in terms of the way that she moves, and I want to see her go better. I still think in this group of peers and contemporaries, she offers the most positives. Young lady right here will be the champion. Young man, couple up front will be reserved. Give them a nice round of applause. Asked this gentleman where he's from. He said, Oklahoma. I said, are you a Go Pokes or a Boomer Sooner? He assured me he's a Go Pokes. That's the right answer there. He's got a single entry in this class and a female that is attractive in terms of her balance. I think she's got a lot of muscle and hip when you get in behind her. We can change her in terms of her rib shape and her broodiness, but he does a nice job. We'll study her further in the division championship. Go Pokes, and congratulations to you.
Well, congratulations back over here in the Brahman ring. Your results of your yearling heifer division champion was exhibited by Camp McCall and reserve exhibited by Bradley Morris. Well, congratulations over here in the Brangus ring. We have your grand champion results. Your grand champion Black Brangus, exhibited by back number 2324, SJCC Hennessy, exhibited by Roxton Stone, and reserve champion was exhibited by Catherine Allen. Your grand champion Red Brangus female, exhibited by back number 2316, Ethan Rexroth.
Young man's pulling double duty out here, going to win the second class in a row. And this heifer, a little different than the one that he brought in the last class. She's really feminine featured and refined up front, one that's still good in terms of her body proportions, fairly sound. So a nice one, young man. Congratulations again.
Well, congratulations over in the Brahman ring. Wyatt Kreutzer will win your April and March heifer classes.
Third single entry in this division, and this young man does a nice job, and he's got a really good female. Again, in terms of just one that has that added show ring pizzazz and sass from the side view profile, just a world of volume and dimension in her, everything proportions nicely. She's kind of like the heifer that won the last division. I can tweak her, especially in terms of her rear hawk and the way she touches the surface, but that heifer's got a lot of positive things swinging in her direction, and I like her well. Congratulations to you, sir.
And congratulations in your last class here in this division. First place exhibited by Case Bacca with BRC Lady Sugar 62. We're now going to bring those three animals in, and your judge will select his champion reserve intermediate heifers.
We bring these three single entry class winners out here, give these kids a good round of applause. Another good division, quality all the way through. And even though you said that, I think there's an obvious and a logical choice, one that has the extras in terms of presence and muscle, power and symmetry. Again, I could change the rear tires just a little bit. Young man at the back, I like that one really well. Congratulations to you. The heifer that I elect to be reserved is the one out of the first class. Congratulations to them.
Congratulations over here in the Brahman ring. Your champion intermediate heifer exhibited by Case Macca, and reserve champion was exhibited by Wyatt Kreutzer. We are now going to bring in your junior heifer division. And over here in the Brangus ring, we're going to get started with your Ultra Black and Ultra Red female show. We'll get started with Class 1 Ultra Late Spring Heifer calves born April of 2021.
I asked these two girls, or did they mean to be in every single class together that they've been in? They just kind of laughed at me. They do a good job, and this is a competitive pair of heifers. No doubt the female up at the front that's going to win. She is the one that has the advantage in terms of muscle, stoutness, power. She's particularly rounder in terms of her rib, more open in terms of her cage, and I think she's sounder moving up front. Heifer from behind's leveler in terms of lines and balance, attractive in terms of look, just not as stout and dimensional, not quite as swift on her feet and legs. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations over here in the Brahman ring. First place and your champion in your junior heifer division, exhibited by Addison Wright, and also reserve will go to Addison Wright. At this time, over in the Brahman ring, we're going to bring in all of your division champion reserves, and our judge, Mr. Ryan Rash, will be selecting his grand and reserve grand gray females. Back over in the Ultra Black and Ultra Red show, we have the results of Class 1. First place was exhibited by back number 2281. Corbin Whittall, and second place was exhibited by back number 2280, Caden Maschak.
Well, as those reserve divisions come on in and get in line, I know that we have showmanship still to go, but this is the last selection in terms of a grand and reserve that we have to make. And I know the show hasn't been huge in numbers, but the quality has been very good, and the kids have been amazing. Again, y'all been pretty timid out here. Put your hands together, show these kids you appreciate them and their cattle, because it's a really nice set. I'm not going to go back through them again. I've described them as accurately and articulately as I can. I think there's a pair in this group that stand out to me, and I'll show you those two just a minute. I had an injury right before Christmas, and so even though I've been here the whole time since Cattlemen Congress started, most of the time I was watching on my phone. Obviously, you can tell I'm not quite as swift on my feet as I normally am out here today, but I've seen judge after judge just see tremendous cattle, and they've all said the same thing. They've talked about what Cattlemen's Congress has done for these kids, the open show, the cattlemen's, the breeders, and I don't know if I can add anything new or inventive to that, but it's worth repeating. Because last year, when everything was closing down around us, the people of this show stepped up, and they showed out and stood out, and they made it possible for not only these kids, but for you breeders to have a place to showcase your animals when we didn't have many options. And what they have done in 2 years is just mind-blowing and astonishing. And I know they've got big plans in the future. I know the group that runs this, what their plans are, and so I can only wait to see what 5, 10, and 15 years from now, what this turns into. And there's a quote that says, "There is nothing more empowering than an idea whose time has come." And I think that sums up this show. They made it happen at the right time. They've done it for the right reasons. And they do it because they love these kids and they love the cattle industry. And they do it for the same reasons all you do around ringside. We know that this is the greatest youth program in the world. We know this is where they need to raise the kids, and because of the time they spent here, they will be the winners in the game of life. And to sum that up, what all you do and what this show and Cattlemen's Congress do, there's a quote that says, 100 years from now, it will not matter the type of house I lived in, the kind of car I drove, or how large my bank account is. But the world might be changed because I made a difference in the life of a child. To all of you and to the people here at Cattlemen's Congress, thank y'all for making that difference in these kids' lives. I've enjoyed it. We'll show you the Grand and Reserve. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion, Gray Brahman female, exhibited by Case Bacca with BRC Lady Sugar 62. And your reserve grand champion, Gray Brahman female, exhibited by Macy Dickerson with Miss HC Nikki 143 over 0. Congratulations to our Brahman exhibitors. A special thank you to our judge, Mr. Ryan Rash. We are now going to get started over here in Ring 2 with your junior showmanship. Well, now coming into the ring will be Class 5 Ultra Late Fall Junior Heifers born November to December of 2020. This will also be a division. We are going to combine those single entries. This will be your Junior Heifer division. Well, and congratulations over here in the Brangus ring, your champion heifer calf exhibited by back number 2299, Peyton Hansen, and reserve champion back number 2307, exhibited by Audrey Accord. Well, congratulations over here in the Brangus ring. Your champion junior heifer was exhibited by 2320 Brianna Hicks, and reserve champion was exhibited by 2313 Mason Perry. And then in your following division, champion senior heifer was exhibited by 2333 Savannah Hanson, and reserve division exhibited by 2332 Emily Jackson. And congratulations over here in your Ultra ring, your grand champion Ultra female exhibited by back number 2299, Peyton Hansen with MCC Miss Dixie 17J, and reserve champion was exhibited by 2333, Hannah exhibited by Savannah Hansen. Congratulations to those exhibitors. We are now going to break for pictures over here in ring one, followed by the picture break. We will get started with your Brangus and Red Brangus female shows. Your judge will be Mr. Tim Fitzgerald.
Well, as we get out here in showmanship, again, y'all been quiet, but you need to give these kids a big round of applause. They're good, really good. And I don't know exactly how many All-Americans or state Brahman shows in the different states I've been to, but no matter where you go, the showmanship is always very, very impressive in this breed. And it seems true out here. There's only two types of showmanship judges in the world. Those that love to judge it and those that hate it. Fortunately for y'all, I'm one that loves to judge it. I think it's a very critical and crucial part. And again, I tell people all the time that not every single person that hits the gate is going to be in a position to have the grand champion heifer. Every single one of them can be the grand champion kid. You do that by winning showmanship. And again, it's just really, really important to me. I stress it to everybody that I sold cattle to, and we made it a priority, and these are good. On the side of you out there on the cheap seats, it's a lot easier to take criticism about Sassy the show heifer than it is Steven or Sarah the show person. And I realize that because I didn't like it when I get criticized, so I understand. These kids are good. It's very, very deep. And they've asked me to place 5. First it was 1, then it was 2, now it's 5. Morgan's making this more difficult on me out here. I went through and I told them all what they did well and what we need to change and tweak on. This gentleman right here at the back is going to be 5th. Give him a nice round of applause. I think he gets that heifer set up well and quick. As I told him, I need a little more eye contact, especially when we walk around, but he does a nice job. This young lady in the blue shirt is going to come forth. Give her a nice round of applause. I think she's excellent in terms of her poise and her presence. She's really good at keeping that heifer's top up and get the holes out of her. I told her she has a tendency to let that heifer's shoulder get too far out on the side view profile. That's what a change. I'll tell you what, this is when you find out judges are human. Everything in me wants to use this little guy right here to win because he had me at hello first thing this morning, and I think he's got the eye of the tiger in him. I think he does a great job, and right now, she's just as perfect as you could make her. That heifer was fighting him every step of the way in terms of leading, and just one that didn't get to be quite as smooth. You get her acting just a little better, son, you'll take them all down every single time. Today, you're going to be 3rd. Give him a nice round of applause. Top 2 are really close, and I told the 2 kids that were the top 2 that it was very close to me. Little difference in style. I think that the decision for me is one, just every single time, regardless if it was out here in the showmanship or in the classes when we judged them earlier, because that's the first impression you get, and that's never going to leave. So when showmanship is after, that's going to stay with you, and this just reaffirms what you see out here, and it's really close, and it can go either way. I think there has been one that in terms of just being really, really effortless in the approach, getting them stuck every single time. I told that gentleman I've seen him with a little more fire in his eye a time or two. I still think he's the best showman. This is the champion. Young lady in the gray sweater is the reserve. Give him a nice round of applause.
Well, we do have the results of your junior Brahman Showmanship, your intermediate division. First place, Tyler Lindsay. Second place, Laura Cooper. Third place, Carson Rabb. Fourth, Grace McCall. And fifth place, Case Bacca. Now in the ring is seniors.
As we move out here in the senior showman, only three, but three excellent kids and very, very talented in terms of their craft. Give them a nice round of applause. Morgan again is making this too tough on me. We got to place all three of them, and that's what we're going to do. Again, I went through and I talked to them, told them what they did well, what I might change just a little bit. And showmanship for me, it's not an endurance contest. It's not a quiz bowl, and I'm not going to ask you to show somebody else's animal. I want to see what you can do with the one that you brought from the house. Because how I judge showmanship is if I had that one in the back that I knew could go to the backdrop, and I could pick any kid on location that could assure me to get there, that's the one that's going to win showmanship for me, because that's what it's about. It's about getting it done when the pressure's on, and why I think they've all three done an exceptional job, and it's super close. The grand champion is this young lady right here. Reserve champion is the cowboy hat up front. This gentleman right here will be third. Thank y'all for having me. Give them a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations in your senior division. Your champion will go to Claire Fontenot. Second place, Molly Kreutzer, and third, Christopher Carrier. That does conclude your junior Brahman show over here in Ring 2. We are going to get started in just a few moments with our open Brangus show.